Mark, Job 10:14.
Job chapter 10, verse 14. If I sin, then thou markest me.
That goes back to 2 Thessalonians 2. And with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, and for this cause God shall send them strong delusion that they shall believe a lie, that they all might be damned. That's what this is saying. Read again, Yuri.
If I sin, then thou markest me, and thou
Go ahead.
and thou wilt not acquit me from mine iniquity.
Let me show you the mark of God. Yeah, put it on. Yes, that's part of the image of the beast. It's only going to escalate. Right now, they ain't killing people for that. But in time, behind Trump, you got the evangelicals. You got to watch these Christians and Jews behind Trump. They're going to make this whole thing a whole religious thing. Watch. Now, let me show you the mark of God. Ezekiel 9 and 4, please.
Ezekiel chapter 9.
Giving all praises to Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai, by Hashem HaRachakodash. The double honors to our apostles and elders, her great millstone. Peace and blessings to the Lord's hopefully elect. So that was put up by Bishop Nathaniel 7, titled The Mark of the Beast is Sin. Now, he said behind Trump, you got to watch Trump and these evangelicals and the so-called Jews, because they're going to try to make this a religious thing. Because, you know, they're trying to still convince you that Esau Edom is spiritual, that he's a spiritual man. So he said that they're not killing any people for this yet, but you got to watch them, because eventually they are going to try to make this a religious or spiritual thing. But it's funny how he says, watch behind Trump, you got to watch these, what do you call it, evangelicals, basically watch the spiritual leaders behind Trump. But what about watching Elon Musk, his right-hand man, the technomaniac, you know, the autistic technomaniac that's doing experiments for years of trying to put brain chips in the humans and make it functional. And he's been doing that for years. Monkeys have died, etc. Why you don't got to watch him? Why there's no watching of him? How come every time these men of IUIC be pulling up all these videos of these people, whether it be in the churches or whatever, but when it comes to the White House or when it comes to the WEF, people like Yuval Harari, who talk about under the skin and monitoring under the skin, and mind you, he's been talking like that for years. He has his own video documentary out. Just type in Yuval under the skin. It's like an hour-long video of them saying that using what happened in 2019, using COVID, is now giving them the room, the opportunity to start monitoring everybody, what they're doing and tracking their movements. You know, he even said that, you know, the days of people just walking down the street and we don't know what they're thinking is over with. He said that we need to actually view people behind their homes watching TVs, and we need to actually know what they're thinking, if they're mad or if they're happy. He's talking about getting under the skin. How come these guys will never talk about watching them or observe them? He just bypasses all that and tell you to look for something that isn't even happening. These men want to convince you that Esau Edom, I guess by Trump, is going to go around and try to commit the act of the Renaissance period with the image of so-called Jesus. That's what they call him. The image of Caesar Borgia, that white image, and they're going to do that all over again. And we're saying, how are they going to do that? Because that stronghold has already been destroyed. They won't be able to deceive anybody with that anymore. That's not the image of the beast. No, the image of the beast is the Roman Empire system brought back in full effect. And that goes into complete control. And a word that you can say today that people will understand is New World Order, which is what? Complete control. That's the image of the beast, because it goes back to the Roman Empire system. One dictator, a small body of people who dictates everything, and everybody else is just a slave. And they're using the digital means to do so. Digital currency, so everybody can be monitored and tracked. And let's go over here to what did RFK Jr. just say openly a few days ago.
What what food is doing to their glucose levels, their heart rates, and a number of other metrics as they eat it. And they can begin to make good judgments about their diet, about their physical activity, about the way that they live their lives. We think that wearables are a key to the MAHA agenda, making America healthy again. And we are going to, my vision is that every American is wearing a wearable within 4 years.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Following up on my previous questions, what steps will you take? And you just said that you're going to do a big announcement next week to access digital health tools to track, monitor, and improve their health, while also ensuring appropriate patient data privacy, security, and protections. In dealing with some of that, I have had questions come up when I've spoken to medical groups about wearables and the privacy. Do you have anything reassuring for that, or would that be part of the announcement?
Well, as I said, we're going to do a major advertising campaign encouraging Americans to wear wearables. I've personally had friends who've utterly changed their lives just from wearing a glucose meter. And they've lost weight, they've lost their diabetes.
See, he's just a puppet. But why is all of these people pushing towards the same agenda, which is what? Wearing something that tracks you, that monitors you, is conditioning. To get people conditioned and okay with the idea of your privacy no longer just being yours, and that it being in the hands of other people, and that what you do needs to be monitored. And they're going to convince you that it's for the greater good. That's what Agenda 2030? Is that what it's called? The push for climate control. It's all under the guise, when the scriptures talk about that he deceived the world, right, with miracles and wonders. The deception is that we're trying to save the planet. We're trying to save you. So you need to surrender your security, surrender your privacy. And in doing so, it's a permanent change. That's the guise. The devil's not going to tell you, hey, you need to watch out for what I'm doing because I'm coming with the snare. No, he's going to tell you the opposite. He's going to tell you to trust me. This is for the greater good of the people. We need to make America healthy again. These sweet, pampered, outward appearance, soft up doctrines, right? They've been doing it for years, but now they're being exposed. But this is what they're trying to do. If they really cared about America's health, then they will look into McDonald's, and McDonald's wouldn't be on the block anymore. There wouldn't be no more Taco Bell. Okay, there wouldn't be any more of these fast food that's actually contributing to the downfall of the people's health. They would invest in teaching about herbs and whatnot, not instead of big pharma. So it's all a bunch of BS. But what is he talking about doing? Making people wear wearables and trackable devices. See, Bishop Nathaniel and IUIC, they're not going to tell you to watch out for these people. They're not going to tell you to watch out for Donald Trump's right-hand man, Elon Musk, or the gates of hell. He's not going to tell you to watch out for them. Another thing that happened a few days ago was that the U.S. Army swore in 4 big tech executives as lieutenant colonels. Palantir's CTO, and Palantir, that basically goes into, if you look it up, it goes into like a Minority Report situation. If you ever watch Minority Report, where they want to track and monitor people's behavior because they believe that can be a way to prevent crime in the future. That's what I got from it when you read it, monitoring, right? Meta, you know what Meta is? That's Facebook, WhatsApp. It says OpenAI's chief product officer and OpenAI's former chief research officer. Okay. It says all of these people are surely connected to fascist Peter Thiel and Zuckerberg and Altman and his projects, protesties. So they're pushing towards what? AI. And what do you think they're going to do with that AI? Monitor and control and track. See, Bishop Nathaniel, he's going to tell you to watch out for these guys. They're not going to pull up what these guys are talking about openly to the world about wearing wearables and trackables or whatnot. No, he's not going to talk about that. He's going to tell you to look for something that isn't there. And you want to know why? I believe it's because he's trying to buy time. He's trying to buy some time. And the best way you could buy some time is to just pretend that what's going on in the world isn't what's going on and deflect. Focus on things that really aren't important, like trying to attack the people who are in the Christian church still. Keep beating that dead horse. Basically, they're targeting like the Christian church and the Christian pastors because they're easy targets, basically. And they're not really prepping you for what you need to be prepped on, like prophecy. They're just going to keep beating the dead horse about the so-called white image of the Messiah because it's easy for them. But when it comes to prophecy, they got their heads in the sand. I noticed a lot of people got their head in the sand of what's going on. They were talking about how that jab, they're starting to openly talk about how that jab is responsible for people to die or whatever it is. Do you hear the men of ISUPK ever coming back to acknowledge that? No, they got their head in the sand. All these groups got their head in the sand with what's going on. If you're not teaching the mark of the beast is the chip, they're trying to buy time. As Yahushua spoke here in Luke 12, verse 42, and the Lord said, "Who then is that faithful and wise steward whom his Lord shall make ruler over his household, to give them their portion of meat in due season? Blessed is that servant whom his Lord, when he cometh, shall find so doing. Of a truth I say unto you, that he will make him ruler over all that he hath. But and if that servant say in his heart, My Lord delayeth his coming, and shall begin to beat the men servants and maidens, and to eat and drink, and to be drunken, the Lord of that servant will come in a day when he looketh not for him, and at an hour when he is not aware, and will cut him in sunder, and appoint him his portion with the unbelievers. And that servant which knew his Lord's will, and prepared not himself, neither did according to his will, shall be beaten with many stripes. But he that knew not, and did commit things worthy of stripes, shall be beaten with few stripes. For unto whomsoever much is given, of him much shall much require. And to whom men have committed much, of him they will ask the more." So that's what I believe these false prophets are teaching false doctrines for filthy lucre's sake. They looked around and they said, we got time. So let's do our agenda first. Prophecy, we don't have to worry about that right now. Let's worry about what it is that what I want to do first. And then in the end, I'll come up with a way to try to sneak it on. The Lord already knows our people. That's why when you watch the men of IUIC every passing week, they're trying to sneak something in there. Not they snuck in about what? Oh, the digital currency. Yep, digital currency. And forced worship. Oh, and you know that jab. If anybody took that COVID jab, that was a test, right? You shouldn't have. You're trying to sneak that in there because you honestly thought you had more time. That's why back in December, the guy asked him on that platform, Bishop Nathaniel, with all this that's going on, this is before Trump got elected. This was in November. He was about to get selected, shall we say. How long do you think we have? And he said with a big grin on his face, 20, 30 years. He was so happy to say that because he got big plans. And that's what he wants it to be. Can you believe that? 20, 30 years. 20 or 30 years. But then, now that Trump's been in office for 6 months, look at what's happening. Missiles have been dropped. I wonder if he'll say that now. Will he still say that now? That's the question. But that just shows you his heart intent. And now he sees that the Lord is speeding things up. So they're trying to buy time. They're scrambling. Because when the scripture says the Lord will come as a thief, he's really talking about those who ain't looking. And those who know, so-called know the truth, that's going to come upon them upon the thief. They're not going to come upon us on the thief because we know what to expect. It's going to come upon these guys as a thief because they're literally not watching. As 1 Thessalonians 5, verse 4. But ye, brethren, are not in darkness, that day should overtake you as a thief. Ye are the children of light and the children of the day. We are not of the children of the night or of darkness. Therefore let us not sleep as do others, But let us watch and be sober. For they that sleep, sleep in the night, and they that be drunken are drunken in the night. But let us who are of the day be sober, putting on the breastplate of faith and love, and for a helmet of the hope of salvation. Yeah, because that day that's going to come as a thief, especially to the Israelites, because they're not looking for him. They're drunken, they're having fun, they're partying, they're knowing about this and that. But when it comes to prophecy, to them it's irrelevant. So basically, the elephant in the room just keeps getting more louder and louder. The elephant in the room is everything that's happening right now that they're doing in your face. But what is he going to say? Watch out for them evangelists. They're going to there ain't nobody trying to do nothing like that. They're actually trying to ban the Bible. So what sense does that make? Because the scripture says there's going to be a famine of the word. How they're going to try to reinforce the belief of Christianity if there's going to be a famine of the word? It doesn't make any sense. But all the evidence is pointing towards what? A digital currency, digital monitoring, under the skin, wearables. Everything's pointing towards to what we say it is. So why aren't these guys teaching it? See, they're trying to buy time because time is not on their side. If you're not on Team Yahushua, then time isn't on your side. We're happy and we're rejoicing over everything that's happening in the world right now. Can these guys say the same? If they can't say the same, then it shows you that they're not on the team of Yahushua. They're on the team of really this world. They should be happy. But are they happy? Or are they still saying, yeah, but we still got a long way to go? No. Or is that just your conscience wanting that to be the case? That's why the Lord says he's going to come upon you as a thief. Because you're literally thinking like, I think I know when I can, predict when the Lord coming back. And then around that time, that's when I'll clean up my act. That's what all the parables of Yahushua primarily about. Like the 10 virgins. 5 were wise, 5 were foolish. 5 were prepared. The other 5 were not. The other 5 lingered and played and partied until they heard that it was time to go. Now it's, shoot. Hey, y'all think y'all can loan us some? Remember, you wasted your valuable time messing around. So why don't you go figure it out yourself? And in the end, it's going to be what? Too late. So, guys like Bishop Nathaniel, he's trying to buy time to try to find a way to sneakily include the true doctrine, all the while trying to save face, because, if he does it too blatantly, then everybody will know that he lied about, he was wrong on this, he was wrong on that. So he's going to try to sneak it in, but he's trying to buy time. You can't buy time with the Lord. You're either on his team or you're not. You're a part of the world. So just know that these guys that don't teach the mark of the beast is the chip, they're looking to buy some time. They got their head in the sand. They're going to pretend like they don't hear, RFK Jr. saying that. They don't see anything or hear anything about Elon Musk. We're going to scroll past those headlines and we're going to focus on, look, the Christian church. You know what I'm saying? They're trying to buy time. But time isn't on their side because they are not on the team of Yahweh Yahushua. That's proof in itself. Because why are you afraid or running from the truth? If they genuinely didn't believe that the mark of the beast is the chip, then at this point they would say, you know what? I think we was wrong, guys. And just rejoice in the fact that, hey, look, that means we about to get out of here soon, but they're not doing that. Everybody's just, saying like, no, we ain't gonna say that. We're not gonna talk about that. Right? And that's why the scriptures talk about, man, you have to be careful of who you're listening to and who you're following, man, because you could be left out to dry. With that, shalom.